Good evening to one and all. This is Akshaya from ECE department. Today we are discussing about engineering physics. In engineering physics, ionic polarization. Today's our topic is ionic polarization. Ionic polarization, which contains of nucleus, electrons and protons and so on. Introduction to ionic polarization. Ionic polarization phenomena is sufficient in ionic compounds and plays crucial role in their physical properties. Yes, it plays a crucial role in their physical properties. Cation and anion. Here we can see the before polarization and after polarization phenomena. Yes, before polarization, cation and anion. And after polarization, what happened to anion? Yes, this is the thing. Definition of ionic polarization. Ionic polarization occurs when the positive nucleus of one ion attracts the electron good of a nearby ion. Yes, ionic dipole forces. What are the ionic dipole forces? We have studied in intermediate. Cation and anion. Yes, cation, we have two types of ion, cation and anion. Molecules with dipole moment. Molecule with dipole moment. Yes, the dipole moment is occurred here. Next, the interaction leads to shift in electron density, creating the temporary dipole. Next, factors influencing ionic polarization. Fossen's rule. Fossen's rule are rules which we have studied in intermediate and which are belongs to bonding phenomena. Yes, the Fossen's rule polarization. Unpolarized isolated ion, non-polarized idealized ionic bonding, polarization of anion covalent nature. Yes, these are the phenomena. Larger anions are more easily polarized due to their electron clouds. Okay, the charge of cation also influences the polarization. The charge of cation also influences the polarization. Yes, ionic role of ionic polarization in ionic bonds. Yes, ionic polarization can weaken the ionic bond by creating covalent character in the bond. Okay, when covalent bond is created in the ionic polarization, the ionic polarization is weakened. Then the greater the polarization, the more covalent like the becomes. Okay, where greater the polarization, the more covalent like a bond becomes. Yes. Measuring of ionic polarization. We are measuring ionic polarization with dielectric constant observations. Yes, dielectric constant. In practical we can do the experiment on measuring of ionic polarization with dielectric constant experiment. Changes in stability of ionic lattice energy can also indicate the extent of polarization. These measurements are crucial for understanding ionic compound behavior in solution. As effects of ionic polarization and properties. These are the effects of ionic polarization and properties. There are mechanical properties such as breathlessness, hardness can also alternated due to the polarization effects. It is also influences the conductivity of influence. Next, ionic polarization versus covalent polarization. Yes, we have two types of ions, cations and anions. Next, two types of bondings. We have many types of bondings like hybridization, covalent bonds, ionic bonds. Here we can see what is the differences between covalent bonding and ionic bonding, and what are the species involved in the covalent bond and ionic bonding. Species involved, atoms and ions. These are the different things. We can see the differences. These are the differences we can see in ionic bonding and covalent bonding. The covalent bond polarization is influenced primarily by electronegativity differences. Yes. Applications of ionic polarization. Ionic polarization is crucial material in science for designing new ionic compounds. Today we are more using electronic compounds, and these are made up of some chemistry uses. Yes, additionally it informs the creation of paraceuticals by predicting drug solubility and stability. Challenges of ionic polarization studies. Accurately measure ionic polarization can challenging due to the environmental factors. Yes, the complex nature of ionic interactions often requires advanced computer models. Understanding the interplay between ionic and covalent characters remains a research factor. Yes or no, people are struggling with so many disturbances in this picture. Conclusion. Future directions. We want to direct our future. Yes, our future is directed by some people, and we want to develop the others' future, which generations are coming from. Oh, so we want to give a good thing to them. Ionic polarization is fundamental concept with wide-ranging implications in chemistry and material sciences. Yes, and thank you for listening this.